It's Ash from Super Videos back for another video for Season 9 of The Walking Dead. This is going to be a sort of death predictions, but not really, because I actually released my death predictions video for Season 9 a couple months ago. This is more or less going to just focus on the potential characters that could be in another lineup that we're going to see in Season 9. Now, this lineup is nothing like a Negan lineup. It's completely different. For comic readers, you know exactly what type of lineup we're going to see. But before I actually get into this, I do want to put out a comic spoiler warning because I don't want to ruin this moment for you if you are not a comic reader and if you don't want to know anything about the comics. So this is your official spoiler alert. After this point on, I will be talking about some massive spoilers from the comic book, and you definitely don't want to stick around if you don't want to know anything from the comics. So with that said, we're going to jump right into it in 3, 2, 1. So we're basically going to take a look at the characters that are potentially going to be in the lineup that we're going to see in Season 9, where we have all the head on pikes from when the Whisperers put the border showing the boundary between their territory and the Survivors' territory. Now, I do think that they're going to remix it a little bit. I don't think that we're going to see that many characters. Of course, in the comics, we had some big characters with their heads on pikes. For example, we had King Ezekiel, we had Rosita. But I don't think that we're going to see that necessarily in the show. Because, of course, Rick is going to go away or die one way or the other, and Maggie is going to go away. So there's already going to be two big characters that are going to be out of the picture. And with that, I don't think they necessarily will be doing other big shocking deaths, aside from those two that I just mentioned. And I'm not saying they're going to die, but they're more or less going to leave the show. So who are the potential candidates? Now, I don't want to make this video super long and super boring, so I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm going to get right into it. So one of the first characters that I do definitely see as being one of the potential characters that could be in that lineup with her head on the pike is Tara. They've been building up Tara's character. Now, she hasn't really been that interesting, and she hasn't really become a fan favorite, and she's kind of like one of those B-lister type of characters that can go at any time. She's been there for a while, she has some sort of connection with fans, but it's not going to be super devastating, but at the same time we're not going to be shocked. So it's somewhere in between. If you want to go with the safe character to have for that death, Tara could definitely be one of those characters. The next one is Jerry. Now, in my death predictions that I did for Season 9, I don't think I put Jerry as one of the characters that was going to die in Season 9, but the more time passed and the more I've kind of thought about it, he's a fan favorite at this point. He's one of those characters that people will be devastated to see go, especially in a gruesome way like that. As much as I don't want to see Jerry go, and as much as I don't want to see his head on the pike, I think if they want to have a big shocking death, he could be one of them. And I think that this would be a very gut-wrenching scene to see Jerry's head on the pike. So I think if they want to go for a big, impactful, shocking death, his death could definitely be one of them. Next one would be Father Gabriel. Now, same as Jerry, I don't think I put Father Gabriel as a potential death for Season 9. But again, the more I think of it and the more I look at his character, I see a kind of ending to his story a little bit. Even though he is a kind of cool character now, especially with the new look that he has in Season 9, I do think that they could potentially kill him as another sort of shocking death, because he's not really that much of a fan favorite, but at the same time, he's been there for a while, and his death could definitely have some sort of impact. I feel like the impact is going to be somewhere in between what we get from Tara being on there and Jerry being on there. So it's like somewhere in between there. Next one would be Anne. Now for Anne, or Jadis, whatever you want to call her, I feel like they have another type of story for her in Season 9, which is related to the helicopter. So they might not necessarily want to kill her and end her story, especially now that they have transformed her story from what she was introduced as being. But with all of that said, I do think that there is a possibility that they could have her head on the pike as well. Now, before we jump into the last one, which is the most controversial one, I would say, I'm not saying that all of these characters that I'm mentioning are going to have their heads on the pikes. I'm saying that we will see at least one of their heads on the pike if they do end up having the heads on the pike scene, which I definitely do think they will. So one last thing I want to say before we move to the last one. No, I do not think we will see Rick or Maggie's heads on the pikes. And the main reason for that is that for as big of characters as they are, Rick being a much bigger character than Maggie, I don't think that their heads on the pikes death scene would be justified for them. I think that we need to see a much bigger, much more epic, much more impactful and meaningful deaths for them. So I put Maggie and Rick out of this discussion. The last one that we're going to talk about is Carol. Now, again, I've said over and over again, I don't think they're going to kill Carol. I don't think it makes sense. I don't think it's a good idea. But if they want to make a death even more gut-wrenching than Jerry's death, Carol would definitely be one that they can do. She's been there for a while. She's a massive fan favorite character, and she is a badass character that we are all gonna miss if she dies. Especially in a gruesome way like this. We're gonna be torn apart as fans. Especially fans of Carol herself. Now, why do I think she might not necessarily get this death? One of the main reasons is that we're already gonna see two big characters go out, being Maggie and Rick. So I don't think they're gonna include another fan favorite character like Carol and take her out of the picture. I think that's a massive risk, and that could potentially be a big mistake. Just like what Carl's death was, and what Rick's leaving or death could potentially be. So because of that, that's a big risk. So I don't think they might necessarily want to take that risk. I'm not saying it's not going to work, but there's a risk involved there. So that's the main reason I don't think that they're going to do it. Now, one of the main reasons I do think they're going to do it is how they're building up her character to be romantically involved with Ezekiel. So going to the comic material, we had Ezekiel build a romantic relationship with Michonne. And then Ezekiel's head ended up being on the pike. And his death moved Michonne's story forward and was very meaningful and pushed her character in a new direction. Now, in the show, I don't think they're going to give that to Ezekiel. I think that's too easy. I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to remix it. I think if they really, really want to do something like what they did in the comics, and if they do want to do a big death, they could give that to Carol. And it'll be like a reverse kind of thing. Reverse gender kind of thing. So Carol, a big character, is going to die. And because she's romantically involved with Ezekiel, that's going to not only impact Ezekiel in a big way, but it's going to push his character into a new direction. And that could remix the story and make things interesting, but at the same time, leave the roots of what was in the comics. And that's basically for my predictions. I think we will see at least one of these characters' heads on the pikes if they end up doing that. Tara, Jerry, Father Gabriel, and Carol. Now, Carol, I think, is the most unlikely one, but I think she's definitely one that we need to put in this list. But I want to know everyone's opinions about this. Who do you think will have their heads on the pikes in the lineup that we're going to see in Season 9? That is, if we see it. But whose head do you think is going to be on there? That's it for this video. See you next time for another super video. If you like what you see, press like, subscribe for more content, and press the bell button to receive notifications for future uploads. Like the Facebook page of this channel to join our Walking Dead community. Join us live every Friday night at 6 p.m. Mountain Time for a Q&A session. See you all there.